Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. We appreciate your presence. So I'm going to call the meeting to order on Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. And this is staff public hearing and meeting of the Hampshire County Legislative. And I'll ask you to all rise to the pledge of the meeting.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Just a little technical note. The microphones are very sensitive. They're only if you talk right into them. Talk away. Pick up anything. If they talk now, they have to have the microphone. Okay. So, now I call upon the delegation clerk to read the public hearing and meeting.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing and meeting of the Strafford County Legislative Delegation is scheduled to be held Wednesday, September 4th, 2024 at 7 p.m. The hearing and meeting will be held in the Jury Assembly Room, second floor of the William A. Grimes Justice and Administrative Building, 259 County Farm Road in Dover, New Hampshire, to conduct the following business. Open public hearing for comments and questions on A, proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. Supplemental appropriation of $16,421,951 for proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. Issuance of $16,421,951 in bonds to fund proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. Questions and comments from the public. Closed public hearing. Open delegation meeting. Approved minutes of March 20th, 2024 public hearing and meeting. Approved memorandum of understanding MOU with the UNH Cooperative Extension and authorized chairman to sign. Your recommendation of the executive committee for proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. Your recommendation of executive committee for supplemental appropriation of $16,421,951 for proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. Your recommendation of executive committee for issuance of $16,421,951 in bonds to fund proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. Motion to approve proposed 2024-29 capital improvement plan. Motion to approve supplemental appropriation of $16,421,951. Proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. Motion to approve issuance of $16,421,951 in bonds to fund proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan and any other business which may legally become already done.
And well,
Bailey,
Here.
Ben,
Here.
Bickford is excused. Bixby,
Here.
here. Shannon is excused. Conlon,
Here.
Connor,
Here.
Fitzpatrick,
Here.
Granger,
Here.
Grassy,
Here.
Harrington,
Here.
Corrigan,
Here.
Corrigan,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Howland,
Here.
Johnson. Krasinski,
Here.
Henny. Lamontagne. Here. The clerk is here. Newton,
Here.
Pear,
Here.
Finney,
Here.
Petrie,
Here.
Potenza.
Here, and I just wanted to say that, Aiden is on Zoom.
Oh.
There he is.
Oh, okay. I'll put it, Anchorburg is on there.
Yes,
I can't.
he's on the other side, he's on our side.
Oh, okay.
He's on this side too.
Yeah.
He's not on the screen. Point his camera's pointed.
There he is.
Okay.
Hi, Aiden.
Jeffrey Rich. Selig. Here. Smith. Jeff.
Jeff Smith.
Marjorie Smith is excused. Southford,
Here.
Levin,
No, she's excused.
Turcott is on Zoom.
I'm on Zoom, sitting in a room by myself in Barrington, Nova Scotia.
Vincent, Wall. And Schmidt.
Here. Well, we have 26 present, so we have a physical quorum, which means that Representatives Ankerberg and Turcott can vote on all items. And anyone else who shows up on Zoom from the delegation, because they have a couple of absences, will also be able to vote if we can see them, so they have to be on Zoom. A phone call, for example, is not entitled to vote. Okay, thank you again, everyone, for being here. Question? Yes, Representative Sally.
Doesn't the other person on Zoom have to say where they are?
Or why they're.
And why they're not here?
Aiden, according to the statute, you have to announce where you are, whether you are together or with just alone. Right, so it's on you now to identify where you are, whether you're alone or so forth. You hear me, Representative Ankerberg?
You're on a meeting of the supervisors of the checklist.
You have to unmute yourself.
You can't, if he's in a meeting.
He's in a meeting of the supervisors of the checklist.
In Rochester.
It's online. In the chat for Zoom. In the chat for Zoom, he posted that he's in the supervisor of a checklist meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. So we recognize that he's here and he's been identified where it is, so we can proceed. Okay, so item 6 is presentation of proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. So at this time, I will open the public hearing for comments and questions on A, the proposed capital improvement plan, supplemental appropriation of $16,421,951 for the proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. And C is the issuance of bonds in that amount to fund the 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. And I apologize for my some scratchy voice, but I have a little bit of a cold. So at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Please come up to the podium, to the rostrum, and identify yourself and try to limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone from the public who wishes to speak to us?
Good evening, my name is Humphrey Williams and I'm from Milton. I'm one of the selectmen there in town, and I have a number of questions as to the timing of this particular bond for capital improvement. The $16 million seems like it's being rushed through in order to try to meet some sort of agenda before the November election, to me, as far as the timing goes. But my problem with it is I don't see anywhere in here where it actually shows what kind of an impact it's gonna have on the various communities. We already are at stretched to our limits. And in Milton, we have not been able to meet our tax cap because of previous budgets from the county commission. So this is only gonna impact us that much more. So I'd like to find out how this is planned to work through so that the communities aren't gonna be overburdened and miss our tax cap issues. And I know there's at least 3 items in here that really are kind of questionable at over $4 million for generators. I know that we got some large facilities, but it seems like it's an excessive amount of money to put generators in the 3 locations that they're talking about. But overall, at $16 million, I'd just like to know how it's impacting all of us.
Thank you for your questions, and we will try to address those questions. There's some of the questions that the delegation and the subcommittees have already addressed in their meetings, but your points are well taken, so we'll try to address them specifically in the presentation you're about to hear. Thank you for being here. Anyone else?
Susan Rice, Rochester, New Hampshire. Good evening. A few months ago, at one of the Woodley County Commissioners' meetings, I asked a very direct question. Was there a county master plan? George McLaren responded with the usual fascinating tale of the 3-legged stool. I love fairy tales as much as the next person, but George, what lives in your head is just that, your fantasy. The direct answer is no, we do not have a county master plan. One of the most critical aspects of a master plan and a cornerstone of its foundation is public input and stakeholder engagement. A master plan serves as a framework for decision-making, ensuring that the development aligns with the community's long-term vision and, most importantly, its needs. Next in the process comes the capital improvement program, which is a multi-year plan that outlines major capital projects, investments for public infrastructure. Key word being infrastructure and facilities. Once again, key chapters of a CIP include introduction, overview, capital improvement, plan summary, financial plans, project descriptions, funding sources, prioritization, and selection criteria. What I should include, it should also include stakeholder input and community engagement, methodology for ranking projects, which this does not do, management and oversight, public involvement. These are just a few of the chapters, and each section should be designed to provide a comprehensive view of the capital improvement needs, priorities, and strategies to ensure transparent and effective management of our public resources. According to the legal notice published on the county website, which I visited about midnight last night, it is nothing more than a skeleton, or as I like to refer to it, as the Sears Catalog Christmas wish book list. In fact, I question the legality of the meeting as the link to the wish list was broken and fixed mid-morning today. I have an email from Janet Hilber. The notice did not give an alternative to where to find a complete physical copy of the proposal. In total, I think it compromises about 2 pages when I printed it out this afternoon.
I would also like to address the bond amortization schedule that was secretly and not publicly passed around, and the depreciation schedule. A CIP would have included this if it was an actual plan in this information, and it should have been posted as part of the complete legal notice. So in bringing this forward, I question the legality of this meeting. The meat and the potatoes, a capital improvement is an addition or change to a property that increases its value, extends its useful life, or adapts it to new uses. The repair and maintenance, which I find kind of interesting in this wish list, that most of it is repair and maintenance. On the other hand, involves keeping the property in good working order. I'm shortening this because I think we're under a time limit, even though it's my constitutional right to stand up here and say my piece. The key differences: purpose, capital improvements enhance or extend the property's value or lifespan. The impact on the value, the duration, and there's many other sections. Much of this proposal is equipment, repairs, supplies, and maintenance that should be directly handled through the normal budgetary process. It is very clear and evident much neglect has occurred on our property. A particular concern to me is the additional 1.4 million for the air handling at the courthouse. How many of you actually know that we've already spent $2.3 million on this project in ARPA funds? And that this did not cover the total amount. Money has flowed freely without votes for expenditures per RSA 2313. This is part of the delegation's work. I took the time to rearrange every item on that list into specific categories to get a better perspective on the task. And I would like to quickly go through that. I have categories such as sanitation and the sprinkler systems at almost $400,000. Campus security, almost $800,000. Electrical, $5.5 million. Roof and air, $3.3 million. Heating and AC, oh, that was only about $80,000. Building, infrastructure repairs, that came in, I think at the total of just under $500,000. New infrastructure, came in at a little less than 70,000. Then we have campus-wide property maintenance at 211,000. New residential equipment, 25,000. Replacement residential equipment at 35,000. And replacement facility equipment at 232,000. It gives you a very interesting perspective when you start breaking it down into categories versus departments. Replacement facility equipment, once again, equipment. That's equipment. That is not under the definition of a capital. That was at 325,000. Replacement of employee equipment. Why are we bonding this out for 20 years? That stuff only lasts for so long. And we've got people that are working with stuff that's gonna be outdated. That came in at 480,000. And then technology needs, this should be in our budget every single year. And what I don't understand is why we haven't stopped and looked at doing a capital improvements fund and putting money aside a little bit every single year for this. And technology came in at $1.2 million. I'm speeding this up in the interest of time because I know most of you have been here since 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. And I also know that the bonding, and it's been said by the commissioners as well as the county administrator, that they don't intend to go out for bonding until January because that's when the bond rates typically are at the historic low when you want to go out and bond something. So why are we rushing through this? Let's get a decent capital improvements program and put it together so that we know the priorities of these different items. I'm more than happy to share with you my list that I put together. I'm happy to help anybody who wants to work on this. I have experience in master plans and capital improvement projects. And when I see this, I don't see a plan. Once again, I see the Sears and Roebuck Christmas wish list. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Karen, after Dover.
Right into the microphone.
Can you, okay, stop it. Okay, I'm Mary Karen, I'm from Dover. So I brought up the plan and what I see is a needs of these organizations, these service organizations to keep going. I don't see, I looked at the stuff for the kitchen and I owned a restaurant for 26 years. I get it. If you can't get parts for something, you need to replace it. And I don't know if these two things are connected, but we're not gonna, as of now, we're not gonna do a new facility, a new restaurant facility. You have to upgrade the field facility that we have then. It makes a difference if we're going to continue with Riverside. You have to put money into updating it, you have to. So, it's a big building and it's been used for many, many years. Things break. I didn't see anything in there that was alarming. And I forget which, where exactly they are, but the pipes that are rotting away. But that stuff has to be addressed. You can't keep saying, we don't have the money, we can't spend it, let's go back and look at it. I don't think people are, I think people are doing things for the next election. I think the people working on this, the people in the county are doing the hard work of looking at what the needs are and putting it out to bid. Things are expensive. We all know things are expensive. Everything has gone crazy. So why wouldn't expenses for keeping the county going? Of course they are. That's just reality. So I don't know. I'm not one for kicking the can down the street. I think you address what the real needs are. And it didn't look like a Christmas wish list to me. That looked like, from a restaurant owner's perspective, every bit of those asks for the kitchen are absolutely relevant for sanitation and safety. You don't want something terrible to happen and then say, well, why did the county let it get so run down? Why didn't they take care of these issues that are so important? It's just, nothing's free.
Anyone else? We have it. Last chance. Okay. Well, public hearing. Thank you very much for coming. We will attempt to address your issues as we make our presentation tonight. Thank you. We'll open the delegation meeting now, and we will start with the approval of minutes from March 24th, 2024, public hearing and meeting. Is there a motion? Move to approval, second.
Stop, guys, it's mom. Stop, it's mom. Mom. Crazy dogs.
The third or fourth, anyway, are there any emendations, corrections, or deletions to the minutes as submitted? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is unanimous, thank you. Well, item 12 is the memorandum of understanding with UNH Cooperative Extension and authorization for the chairman to sign said MOU. Coming up on 5.
So move. Second.
Okay.
If I might have just a few words. My name is Amy Loader. I'm interim director of UNH Cooperative Extension. And so I'm here for a couple of reasons tonight. First of all, I wanted you to meet me in person, the new director of extension. I'm not sure if this interim position will turn into a permanent one or not, but I have spent my 23-year career with UNH Cooperative Extension, working my way up through various roles. So that's one thing I want you to know. I'm a native of Barrington, so I'm a local person who is very familiar with Strafford County. And then the second thing is this memorandum of understanding that we are asking you to sign tonight has been signed by the Strafford County Commissioner Chair. And we do this once every 6 years. There's a state RSA that requires the University of New Hampshire to come to each one of the New Hampshire counties and ask for an agreement to keep co-funding this extension office in each one of our counties. So tonight isn't about money or budget passage, it's just about me telling you that we intend to keep the extension office open in Strafford County, as well as every other county in the state of New Hampshire. And thank you for your support.
Thank you very much for being here and explaining it to some of the new members who are not familiar with this whole process or with what you do. But I remember 10 or 15 years ago when there was a proposal to terminate a number of the services that the county supported and participated in. We were in courtroom one, and it would be in courtroom one, packed. I mean, citizens were sitting in the jury room, in the jury box. It was like a sardine can, all in support of the services that were being provided to the county by the cooperative extension and so forth. And these services are very valuable. And I participated in the last MOU signature. So thank you very much. I hope the delegation will support.
You're certainly welcome. Thank you all.
Don't believe there was already a motion in the second on this, I believe. And I don't believe it requires a roll call, so all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Amy, we look forward to working with you for the next 6 years. Although I won't be around that.
Would it be appropriate, sir, for me to approach and ask you for a signature as chair?
I was gonna come to Concord, but I'm happy to sign it now. You don't depend on me to be here.
I think it would just make that event on Friday go smooth. Oh, you did?
Really?
I understood, we used to study.
Okay, item 13 is to hear the recommendation of the executive committee for proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. Well, we just had the executive committee meeting. We went through all of this. We discussed it at great length. The executive committee voted 8-6 to approve the commissioner's proposal for the CIP for the coming 6 years. So that is the recommendation of the executive committee by a vote of 8-6 to do so. And then there was also a recommendation of the executive committee for supplemental appropriation of $16,421,951 for the proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. That again was adopted by the executive committee by a vote of 8-6. So that was the recommendation of 14. And at this time, it's time for the recommendation of the executive committee for issuance of $16,421,951 in bonds to fund proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. And that was not voted on by the executive committee. Ray, do you have?
I'm sorry, I think the first vote is the need for the budget adjustment, and then the second vote is for the bond.
That's correct. Right. So,
I just want to follow the rules by bond council.
have you ever done that? No.
Oh.
Emptying a little bit of lead. Okay, so I'm going to proceed to item 16, which is a motion to approve the proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan. And I think we should have the delegation have an opportunity to discuss this before we move. So, any member of the delegation care to speak at this time? Start with a motion to approve. Representative Grassi moves. Is there a second? Representative Harris seconds. Okay, so now let's have our discussion. Representative Harris.
Thank you. Can you hear me on this? Okay. My problem is the process here. We're going to be asked to appropriate a bond issue for a total amount for multiple projects with various departments. Yet we don't have any prioritization of those projects. Within each department, we were given, well, I think this is really, really important. I think this is really, really important. I think there was a couple that were only just kind of important. But they really need to be ranked against each other as a total list, because there's only going to be one budget. There's going to be one bond issue that's issued, and that's going to cover all these projects. So we need to prioritize, because if these, remember, these, what we have in front of us, or we had in front of us, were only estimates. They're going to go up for bid sometime in the future. These prices could go up substantially. We don't know. So when that happens, we ought to have a list of prioritization. So the county then goes out and says, well, here's my top, I've got 10 projects. I'm going to start with the top one, and I'm going to put that up for bid. We'll get that one. Then go to the second one, the third one, the fourth one. Okay, I've reached the maximum already. Now I'm going to have to go back to the delegation for the next 4 projects and try to convince them that it's really worth increasing the bond issue. Right now, we don't have any prioritization of any project other than we were told most of them are really important by each individual department. but we haven't had an overall ranking as to what's the most important for the county as a whole. And I think we really need that.
Who wishes to speak next? Representative Kaczynski, I recognize.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get to more. Moving the mic, move on.
So in the legislature, I sit on the Public Works Committee. And we do capital improvement budget 1 year, and the next year, the 10-year plan. And what we see in there is an organized plan. It has designated projects for designated years. Okay, there's not funding just thrown out there for all of them. Doesn't happen that way. It's very organized, and occasionally they might jockey things around according to the circumstances. This process here is foreign to that. And what I found was a little, I didn't care for it too much, I'll say, is the fact that apparently this last 6-year plan expired in 2023. So I don't know exactly when, maybe it was 1.5 years ago, okay? Why won't we call last year? Why won't we warn that there's problems here, critical infrastructure problems? Because what we're hearing from all these different departments, most of these items are said to be needed yesterday. And the ones that are gonna be put off a couple of years, if you'll notice, they're all the cheaper items. Not cheap to me, 30, 40, 50,000 is a lot of money, but those are the ones that we can wait on, you know? So we've got this put on us with no warning. All of a sudden, it comes, we're gonna have meetings in August, we're gonna have subcommittee meetings. And it just seemed like a rush process for me, for something that, you know, I gotta say, I don't know how to say it nicely, but if these things were that critical, and somebody missed the boat here, something isn't, if they were bad last year, that's sewer problem. That didn't just happen. Okay? And problems such as that, you don't have to go through a big bonding process, fix it. I mean, to say there's no money available to do something like that, apparently there was enough money to pay Warren Street off those several $1 million for the bonding money. We've got a fund balance that we don't really know what is in there. I don't know. There seems to be plenty of money for when it's needed for different projects. And this 10% contingency, I mean, it's like, I'm gonna go buy a car. And I saw 40,000, geez, I had 44,000 put aside for that. I think that somehow they're gonna use up some of that money. I never, in none of the plans we ever did in Concord, or even in Rochester with the city council, I never saw anything like that with this contingency. It's a new thing. And looking at the past 6-year plan, I see a lot of different things. Now, I don't see any of those IT projects on the last 6-year plan. I don't know. It seems like a lot of things are getting added into this with varying timelines. So projects things that have a 5-year life expectancy, we're bonding it for 20 years. So that for those reasons, I'm gonna vote no. And I believe a proper plan should be put forward in a proper way. Call us back. I'm not saying no forever, but I'm saying right now, this is not getting done properly. And I'm not gonna sign a blank check for $60 million.
Granger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm a no on this, and I'll tell you why. You're mixing really important things with not very important things, but then you're labeling them all high mandatory essentials. I count 49 high mandatory essentials, 11 mediums and 3 lows. And some of these I can tell are not all that important. They're not that big of a deal, but there's some things in here that definitely are. So it reminds me of when we do the budget in Concord. And what we do is we just start shoehorning in things in order to appease specific people. And, we sort of turned the budget into a wish list. I don't like it when we do that to the budget, and I don't participate in that when we do it to the budget, and I'm not gonna participate with it here. So we're not gonna be bonding until January anyway, so clean it up, get all the stuff that isn't supposed to be in there, out of there. And only keep the essential stuff, the stuff that's actually really, really important, and then I can be a yes on it.
Representative Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I understand that this is not municipalities. I've been told that the CIP is not necessarily the same. I understand that there is a great need. Obviously, things are crumbling, sewage is running up on the property. It's horrible. It didn't just happen today. Okay, we know the buildings are old. We know that they've been made with old materials. And I understand the urgency. Everything's on fire. But a CIP, and I've been on a CIP committee for 3 years in my town. And there's an order. You hear, just like we did in our subcommittees, we hear the proposed projects, right, and the amounts and the needs. There is then a ranking from the committee of urgency based off what was given from the individuals in the departments. Then it can go to committee based off of what is urgent. How much is that? And can the people, the taxpayers, afford another increase? And mind you, this is a plan. It takes a process to plan. You know your roof expires after 20, 25 years. You don't wait till year 26 to start saving money. The process is broken. I don't even know if there was a process. I want to be a yes. I want to see things fixed. I want to help the community in Strafford County. But unfortunately, the process of how to get there is not working. That needs to be fixed before millions of dollars is asked from our communities to support this. And it should not be all in a bond. We don't always just go get a loan. It costs more money. We'll never be able to pay that off when we need another loan in 6 more years, because other things will be burning. It's just unacceptable. We need to strategize, and we need to have a better plan, and we need to act responsibly. Thank you.
There's someone on the other side also that I can only look in one direction at a time. And I'm not seeing any hands over there at the moment, so, sorry, Representative.
Yeah, one of the advantages of using a bond is that it spreads out the impact of the cost. Is that okay? Well designed.
What do you have to follow it? You just have to get close.
That's what we end of the table, so it has to be on the budget here. Unfortunately, I'm not right there. So one of the advantages of using a bond to cover this sort of expense is that it spreads the tax impact out over a longer number of years. And one of the things, so if this were to be put in the regular budget, it would have a much larger tax impact than it does by putting it into a bond. And which is one of the reasons that I think that it makes sense to do these things with bonding rather than trying to put it into the regular county budget.
No.
No, you're gonna go in. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I've gotta move this thing. Sure, I'm not gonna be able to. Oh my goodness, we better do better. No, we are. Yeah, a long time. And trust has been built with the way this county raises money and spends money. And I understand what you're saying in terms of wanting things to be specific. We do have some sense of priorities, some sense from this. I understand why you want more details, but I'm not altogether sure that would really change anything. In all the years I've been here, there has been bonding that's been done by the county, and the advantage of that, as Representative Bigby said, is it spreads it out. We know from year to year exactly how our expenses are going to go and where the money is coming from and how it's all going to balance out. And our commissioners have been excellent in terms of keeping our county budget the smallest part of any tax bill for any community in this county. It's not just a matter of trust, it's a matter of experience, it's seeing how things work in this county. And regarding the sewer situation, I've heard an awful lot of concerns about how it didn't happen all of a sudden. But I've driven around and I've seen a lot of communities, not only in this county, but Rockingham County, Merrimack County, wherever. And there are a lot of cities and towns, a lot of municipalities that do have sewer problems. No, they don't happen overnight, but they do happen. And when they happen, you have to do something. So now it's happened and we have to do something. It's not like we were negligent. It's not like the county failed to notice anything. The county has been responsible in terms of keeping up with things. Regarding the Riverside Rest Home, year after year after year, the Riverside Rest Home has been inspected. How can I say it? Unannounced inspections by the federal government. And the inspectors have consistently found that we're doing the best we can to maintain that ancient building and keep things running smoothly. But now we have some things that are worn out. Now we have some things that have to be taken care of. I am going to support this funding. I'm going to support the bonding because it's a smart way to handle a budget. And I have seen, as I said, all these years that things have worked out pretty well with this county. And again, I don't see where if we prioritize the sewer system over the electrical thing, IT, we didn't have the IT 10 years ago that we have now. It changes day to day. We have to keep up with the changes. And that's why we have that plan in here now, so that we can keep up with IT. Roofing, yeah, we know roofing needs to be done. We know an awful lot needs to be done. We need a new nursing home, but that's not for tonight. I am going to support this because the effort that's gone into all the details here has been excellent. The commissioners and Ray Bauer have done a great job, I think, in terms of coming up with actual figures, conferring with the right business people, the right companies who can get these jobs done, the right time in the right way. And bonding will give us that chance to spread that out so that we're not going to be slammed with our taxes, I hope. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question of, Mr. Bowers first. How many years is the term for this bond that we're looking at?
We're looking at a 10-year term at this point.
Okay, and that's important because.
Right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and repeat your answer.
We're looking at a 10-year term at this point.
That's important because what we're looking at here is people saying that the items will wear out before the 10-year term is finished. But if you look at the bonding that we have in the proposal, less than 15% of the items are less than 10 years. 85% of the items in the proposal are 10 years or more. Many of them are 20 years, which means we will pay for these items well before their useful life is expired. I've been involved in a number of capital improvements in municipalities, and a lot of times you bond for, what you expect the life of the project to be. If it's a building, you bond it out for 30 years, because you figure when 30 years hits, you're gonna have to take a look at more improvements, more work, more bonding. And what you're looking at here is that this is actually a good deal for the taxpayers of Strafford County. we're gonna be paying these off well before they are expired and useful life. So I think, you know, as far as the way the administrator and the commissioners have planned this bond, this is going to save us money.
Sorry.
Already had your first chance, Representative Byrne.
I understand that, Mr. Chairman, but he brought up a very good question for me. Rafi, yeah. So you brought up the bond is 10 years. CIP is 6 years. So in 6 years, when we still owe 4 more years on that bond, we're gonna be talking about this again and looking for a bond. Is that what happens?
I don't know that answer because I don't know what our needs are gonna be in that amount of time. I can tell you one overriding principle, and that is that our bonded debt is less than 1%. Our total bonded debt, Diane's our finance director. Our total bonded debt at the end of this year is,
3.4, at the end of 2024, it'll be 2.8 million.
is $2.8 million in total. Our capacity or our maximum bonded debt is,
Our limit is 340 million. Oh my God.
so our maximum bonded debt is capacity based on what the DRA says is 340 million. So we're, at the end of this year, we'll be at less than about 0.75% or between 0.5 and 0.75%. So I think historically, the use of bonded debt in this county has been really frugal.
No, I'm sorry.
Al,
So the thing about capital improvement, it never gets cheaper and it always gets more expensive. And the longer you defer it, the more expensive it gets. And so in terms of the alternative to bonding it, as mentioned, many of the items here are long-term, which really do fit into capital improvement. The alternative would be we'd have to expand our facilities fund in the budget. And since there's been a real push to keep the budget below tax caps, you can't deal with the capital improvement and do that necessarily at the same time, particularly when you have a large backlog of capital improvement. And so it would really come to us as a delegation then to begin to address it. And as I looked at the capital improvement plan, we're in the worst possible position. An old building that is worn out is really expensive to maintain, and that's what we're seeing. And you can see it when I sat in the Riverside Rest Home Committee, and you're literally saying, what things can we put in the building, can we take to a new building? And you never want to be in that case. And so that's really on us as a delegation, because we've kind of punted the nursing home along. As the cost of that grows, so does the cost of maintaining this old building. And so the bonding as proposed is a good way to kind of smooth the curve. As we just pointed out, we have an extremely low bonded threshold right now. But I think us as a delegation, as we move forward, we really need to look at our facilities portion of our budget and be willing to make up potentially some of this lost areas.
Representative Tenza, did you want to speak?
I think there's been a lot of really good comments here, and I just want to say that this was so overwhelming, going into the Riverside Rest Home Committee, and we have a fantastic subcommittee, and we ask a lot of questions, and everybody's very thoughtful and thorough, and there's a lot of necessities that are needed in Riverside Rest Home. I just believe that this massive spreadsheet and then the booklets that trying to go through is why it's needed. It has to be a plan. It has to be a plan that says, we need these things now within a year, we need these things in 2 years, and all of that. And I don't know why we're rushing this through. I want to be a yes. I'm a no right now because I needs to be ironed out. And I also believe I don't know enough. I'm not an expert on budgets or any of this kind of stuff, but when it comes to stuff that's a necessity, whether it be Riverside Rest Home and the leaking and the pipes and all of that kind of stuff, those are dumpster on fire type of things that have to happen now. Why aren't we looking, instead of in a capital improvement, we should be looking at what kind of monies that we have available, unassigned fund balance or whatever, that we should be doing these projects and paying for these projects now. Whatever we can pay for now, I think should be taken out of this spreadsheet. And then really focus and have it be strategic and thoughtful and have it to truly be a plan. And then, and separate it out, maybe split it out into 3 sections or whatever it may be. And we can still get this done by the deadline in January. I remember when I was elected, you guys made decisions, I think it was in December. So, you know, this was a hard meeting to attend tonight with everything that's going on. We're all very busy with, you know, election season and everything else. You know, I've been here since 4 o'clock and I want to do right for the county and for what they need, especially when it comes to some of the equipment that is needed right now in Riverside Rest Home, especially in the dietary section, especially in equipment that they need. I want that purchased. That stuff needs to be purchased now. That should not be waiting for a CIP.
Thank you. There are people, some people on the Zoom, this is all being recorded, so it's available. And what I'm afraid of is this dialogue that we have going here is not as productive as it could be in terms of getting to the specifics that you just asked for. But we have people, and I attended all the subcommittee meetings, okay? That's my obligation as my chair to be there, and I was, and I saw many of you at the subcommittee meetings. And I heard the staff, our excellent and expert staff, come before you and talk about the specifics that you have just been talking about. So I think it would be more useful for the public, because there are some of them here, but it's also being recorded, and the minutes are going to reflect this meeting. More useful, in my opinion, to have some of the people who really know these specifics talk to us and lay out some of this thing, because I heard a tremendous number of statistics. I heard a number of things that need to be done right now. When I hear that parts of the electrical system, for example, are hanging on by the skin of their teeth, and if something goes down in the weather, we could be without power in a nursing home or in a court building or whatever for weeks at a time in an ice storm. That ain't a good idea for the county and for its citizens. So I would like to have our director of maintenance come forward and talk to some of the specifics that you've asked for, but that the public largely has not heard about because they weren't there at the subcommittee meeting, except for Mrs. Rice, everywhere that I am. I don't think she's following me around in my whole time. Anyways.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to take any questions that you folks have about any of the specific portions of the capital improvement plan, anything that you've seen in the packets, anything that you've heard about. We've been through 3 rounds. This is the 3rd round of meetings. I've provided, I believe, a substantial amount of information on each of those. I tried to keep it compact because I realized it's a lot to bite off, and I realize the numbers are big. I live in Dover. This is my tax money too, and there's a lot here. There's some sticker shock here for some items. A lot of times our hands are tied by the regulations that we have, by the standards that we need to meet. The International Building Code that was adopted was brought up. The standards keep getting higher and higher for regulations. You can trust that my pencil is as sharp as it's ever going to be, and I always make sure that we do the best we can. Our crew actually jokes that I hang up paper towels and shop and drive them out. And it drives people crazy. So,
well, if I could just direct some of your responses. Representative Harrington began by saying he would like to see a priority. Thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, and so forth. And if your wife says it to you on the weekend, honey, what about that? Bathroom tile that you're gonna fix?
Sure, I think-
What about, and the garbage needs to be taken out, but she says, and by the way, there's a fire in the trash can on the back porch. You're gonna take that trash can fire first.
Well,
So there's certain things that have an obvious priority, and I think, but we have a lot of things that are first priorities. And to maybe you could speak to those, because that's a perfectly legitimate question. What are the priorities that have to be acted on? I think to create a list first, second, and third is, it's simple if it's choosing between fixing the tile in the bathroom and carrying the garbage out. It's a lot harder to fix if you're talking about the bathtub is overflowing at the same time the trash can's on fire. Now you got two things you need to do simultaneously. We don't have one person to do all things like dad or mom. We've got a staff, a very experienced, hardworking, dedicated staff. So let's talk about some of the things that need to be done that are gonna tie, in my opinion, for first place.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would say the highest priority items right now are the smokestack chimney. That is within range of probably 100 or so people every day. It is in poor shape, that needs to come down. The electrical really needs to be addressed. That project, or some form of that project, needs to be addressed. Before we, the roof as well. You know, on the courthouse roof up here where we have the air handling system coming back. You can see if you look up, there are new ceiling tiles, there are old ceiling tiles, and chasing a leak in a roof is, it's time consuming. You know, we have limited staff, we have staff that needs to do preventive maintenance measures at Riverside, preventive maintenance measures at the jail, to prevent this stuff from deteriorating. I've heard a lot of analogies tonight about purchasing a car and then telling somebody you have $44,000, where the option is to walk and to bid to the next car dealer. Maybe the next car dealer can do better. And that's what I'm required to do when I put a job out to bid, to get the best price possible for the taxpayers. Again, this is my money too, being a resident of the county. All of these items, I have looked at as high priorities, and thank you for pointing that out. It does look like, it does have the appearance of something being stacked here. But like I said, in the original subcommittee meeting and downstairs in the executive committee meeting earlier this evening, these items are just a fraction of what this original rough draft list looked like. This rough draft list was 2 pages long. So we sat down with our team, with my foreman and with our purchasing agent and the rest of the crew and said, okay, what can we tackle ourselves? What can we fit in our regular building repair budget? What can we reuse? What can we import? What can we beg, borrow, and steal from stuff that's around to get these projects done, to stop the water from coming into the buildings, to stop the deterioration in here? We've had some pretty wild weather in the past couple of years, and I think we're gonna see a lot more going forward. I think we're gonna see less snow, we're gonna see more rain and then freezing, and that takes a toll on mortar, takes a toll on pavement, takes a toll on the roof and the rest of the equipment. I was asked earlier about my opinion on the conditions at the county, and again, I believe the former director did the best he could with the budget that was available to him. And they really stretched it thin some years. There were some years where they were out by November and not able to do any more. So keeping that in line is my job. And I appreciate how interested and interesting everybody's been. You guys have asked great questions and really made me think about a lot of this stuff. But I think what we have in front of us, obviously not perfect. Obviously, there can be some changes made. But these items here, if you look at the item and the problem itself, it's definitely a problem. There's nothing in here that's, there's nothing superfluous in here. It's all real stuff that really needs to be addressed. Yeah.
Representative Bixby,
Yeah, I think that, you pretty much covered what I had a more specific question, but I think that in terms of, you said the electrical was a priority, and that covers a lot of stuff. So for instance, the generators, for emergency, and also the breaker panels for which breakers are no longer available. And so, is there some sort of hierarchy among what's important in the electrical, or is this just like all top priority?
I understand your question, Representative Bixby. The electrical issues that we're having, you're familiar with the phrase, it's not my fault, but it's definitely my problem. When these items were put in, they were put in efficiently and they were put in cost effectively. So a lot of times compromises were made. We have a generator in the old jail that powers some items in the new jail. That requires transformers. These transformers are coming up on 20, 25, 30 years old to cut the power down. Those are need to be replaced. So what we're looking at is this plan that was provided to us by Du Bois and King is a comprehensive solution to take care of all of these issues on the three sites here to get the generators that we need to make sure that we have the stuff going forward. This past, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks, we've had two very serious generator issues come up during our annual load test. We lost a radiator in the old jail. You can see in the top of the jail parking lot right now, if you roll up there, there's a portable generator hooked up to the old jail. That has to be there. I have to pay for that to be there. Life safety requirements, Dover Fire, CMS, the state, everybody requires me to have a standby generator ready to go. We're waiting for a radiator. I don't know where that radiator is being made, but it's been 4 weeks I've been without a radiator, and I have to pay for another month of that generator to be there. Vendor and supply issues, anyone here who's had anything made for them knows vendor and supply issues are a real problem right now. I have a lead time of a year to a year and a half on some rooftop units. So I need to know 2 years ahead of time when that rooftop unit's gonna need replacement. We're looking, again, 6 years. I think 6 years is a manageable time frame to look forward to know what's going on the horizon. These items here, again, we've whittled this down to where I believe it's manageable within 6 years. I think we can probably do most of this time, possibly all of it. You know, and we have, like I said, we have a crew that's able to do these things, and we can pitch in and help the vendors, and we can move things along. As far as prioritization, the tough part with right now with prioritization is vendors. And vendors can't move because vendors can't get parts, vendors can't get help. I'm dealing right now with elevator inspection services that are mandatory. They can't get help. Fire panel companies, they can't get help. It's tough out there. The job market's really difficult. So I'm required by law to rely on qualified individuals outside of the facility. We all know sprinkler systems. I'm a machinist at AAA pump and electric motors in Manchester for years. And I know the insides and outsides of how these work. Our foreman is a former boiler technician. So he knows HVAC systems. We have, again, plumbers, electricians, carpenters. We have tradespeople, former tradespeople that are in these positions that know what to do and know how to make smart decisions.
Kelly, thank you. I just have a quick question. So knowing that, at least in terms of town budgets, they're usually set up by, you generate your ideal list of everything to accomplish over a period of time, and then you set back to cut back everything you can. I'm just curious if you could tell us what things you've already cut out of your plans for this. Just, and not, it doesn't have to be everything, but just give us a sample of things that you've cut for the purposes of saving funds.
Certainly. I have a great example. Thank you, delegates, for approving the budget last year because we asked for $8,000 in new equipment. With that new equipment budget, we purchased a crack sealer for about $2,500 and we purchased a striping machine for about $1,800. Now our crew has the flexibility to repair the repairs that need to be made, and we don't have to go out to bid. We can push this parking lot thing out as far as we need. We can patch with our regular building repair budgets. So we can maintain the parking lot until it crumbles, but unfortunately, we have stuff underneath the pavement that we need to deal with. There's a lot of drainage issues and things that are there. That's a perfect example. I have guys undercoating trucks, the trucks that we have, trying to get a couple extra years out of them. We're really, we're all Yankees. We're all, penny wise for sure. Landscaping, we actually had a landscaper that retired, so now everyone owns free landscapes. We mow the lawns, we do raking, we do maintenance around the facility. Items that would traditionally be farmed out to other vendors and that we have to pay for and that I'd have to put out to bid, we're able to handle ourselves. And I realized that the spirit is that we would be going out to the community and using it, and I do. I use local companies a lot. I use people in Rochester for windows and store companies around here and things of that nature. But as far as the labor, I think we've saved quite a bit of money just this year. It's been amazing what we've been able to do with the budget and the turnaround we've been able to do with the stuff that we fixed. But we're having new problems showing up. The sewer, which, do you know what the sewer is like at your house right now? Nobody does until it stops. It's not something that we do. It's not like a roof where we're up in the attic and we're looking and we're constantly on it. But it's a daily thing. We divide up our crews in the mornings, lawn maintenance, building maintenance, or a Riverside, a jail, and then somebody's going looking for leaks. It's every day. It's a pocket full of washers, dropping them on the roof, seeing where the holes are. Seagull damage. Seagull damage is a huge problem. They pick up sharp things, they pick up pieces of plastic fence and they drop them on the roof. It's all 13 full-time jobs to keep the place going right now. And we have coverage on the second shift of a young man who's there till 11 o'clock at Riverside every night. Sure.
Thank you. I know it's hard to see me. Again, I want to thank you for all your work. I definitely support the plan. I think it's good for my constituents. I like the idea of planning for the future as much as we can. And again, a reminder that you've been in this role 2 years. So you've learned as you've gone along. I think I would like you to say more to the public about what is mandatory, because a lot of these things have to do with other regulations. And certainly on a wish list, they're mandatory. And I don't think you put that word in by accident. I mean, you said essential, mandatory things. My own thought is most have to be started within the next 2 or 3 years.
Yes, that's
in order to comply with things that we're required to comply with. And then the 6 years gives us the longer bond, and you can pick up other things too. But again, I went through this thoroughly, partly because I'm on the revenue committee. And I've seen other plans over the years in my career, and I think it's very well done. I think it's very sensible with good backup information. Anytime you can, you're going out to bid to get lower prices. Things that we put off are gonna cost more. So if you could just say a little more about the mandatory aspect. Thank you.
Yes, Representative. I'm bound by regulations from Center for Medicaid Services, local authorities having jurisdiction, which would be Dover Fire, which does an annual inspection. We work pretty closely with them to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. But even fire panels, the regulations for fire panels in the last 2 years have changed. Now we're going quieter, we're moving strobes further apart. So the fire panel that we got at Riverside already is outdated. That was 2 years ago. So it's already antique or obsolete. Looking at this list, I honestly don't know if anybody can look at this list and say, here's what the landscape is. Every single one of these is gonna have 5 vendors responding to these jobs once they're posted. I may have 0. I have had 0. Some bids that we put out, we've had nobody interested in them, so we have to drop back and punt. Well, I'm hoping that it's healthy. I hope we have healthy participation. I hope we get good competitive bids. And we can move forward from there. Once those start rolling in and I have an idea of what's available to be done right now, again, 1.5 years for some equipment, some folks don't have labor. You know, I gotta get commitments from the folks who can win these bids that this is gonna be done right and it's gonna be done on budget, because that's my job. And take it seriously.
Representative Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Following up on Representative Southworth's comments and questions. I'm not following this with blind faith. I'm seeing what's happened with bonding with the county and how when the bond gets paid off, we're able to come forward with another. We did that, I believe, with the jail project. So we never got slammed with big taxes all at once. It was a process that just flowed. And that's how I believe the county's been able to keep our taxes relatively low, actually. I respect all the questions that have been asked tonight and the doubts and concerns. But I also have been around long enough to see how the bonding process works with this county. And if we were to approve this tonight and we move forward, we're already hearing about selecting priorities for what really has to be done first. And you have a sense of where we're going. Then, of course, you never know when something's going to crop up that's an emergency for whatever reason and needs to be tended to. But in the meantime, if we've got the bonding out there, we can have some flexibility with what we have to do. And again, everything's listed for what we need to do, how we need to proceed, or with what we need to proceed. So if we support this tonight, I believe that we'll be able to have that fair level of taxation so that our constituents will not be slammed with anything big and a burden that says, oh my goodness, what have those people done at the county? Bonding allows us, again, the chance to plan from year to year exactly what we will be paying in taxes to pay things off. We need that. I come from a small town which hasn't done anything with bonding. And boy, I've seen what's happened with taxes in that town. And now the town is finally seeing the light and saying, gee, with a big project, we're probably gonna have to look at bonding because it's fair. It's reasonable. It's something we can plan with and plan on. So, again, I appreciate all the details you have given us this evening and the details others have given us. We can't say specifically this, and that's the way it's gonna be. Because we don't really know exactly any project, how it's really going to proceed. But at least we've got a sense tonight of what really is critical with this list that we have of things of high priority and such. Yes, there are more that we're seeing than of the moderate or the lesser ones, but that's the way it's always gonna be. So I thank you very much. You did a great job helping us to understand this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Representative, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes. You know, here we are, 8:30 at night, and we're asking and trying to get priorities on what's on this capital improvements program. How insane is that? 8:30 at night, and we're asking to rate the projects. I was on the Public Works Committee at state level. We did the state capital improvement budget twice. And believe me, we got the information we needed. We got what they were gonna do, what year they were gonna do it, how much they were gonna spend. And that isn't approximate, but it's pretty damn close. We're not getting that here. We're saying, we want a lump of money, this is what we're gonna do, everything's a priority, so just approve it and let's move forward. Well, our job as a delegation is to watch the purse strings. How is this watching the purse strings? It's not. It's not. We're being asked to make decisions on information we're just getting 10 minutes ago. That's insane. It really is. I want to talk about county bonds. It was mentioned earlier that, well, 75% of what we're gonna bond is covered, will last more than the 10 years that the bond is out for. That's not how it works, ladies and gentlemen. County bond, section 33(2) states, and I quote, "The first payment of principal on any loan shall be made not later than 2 years, and the last payment not later than 30 years after the date thereof, provided, however, that no loan issued to pay for public work or improvement shall exceed the expected useful life of said public work or improvement as determined by the governing body of the city councils in the case of cities or the county commissioners in the case of counties." The law says you shouldn't bond for things that aren't gonna last the length of the bond. And you know, you sit there and you go, you know, that isn't right to keep making a payment. Once you buy a car and it's used up, they call that being underwater. You're underwater on it because the car isn't worth what you owe on it by the time it stops running. We're not supposed to do that, ladies and gentlemen. We all know that if you fix a roof before you lose a building. We all know that, and we get that. You can't let things go, you can't ignore them. But there's things that you have to do. And the only law that I could find on the capital improvements was, capital improvements program was authorization. And it says in a municipality, but often it's county is the same. In a municipality, the local legislative body may authorize the planning board to prepare and amend or recommended program of municipal capital improvement projects projected over a period of six years. What it shall do is, it's supposed to show they're gonna do in a time frame when they're gonna do it. And we're not getting that here tonight. We're kind of getting it, but we're not getting it. We're getting, give us a whole bunch of money and we'll spend it in 6 years. That's what we're getting. There's not gonna be any accountability to us once we give all that money. I can't see giving it all. I can see giving some to get them started because I believe that there are things that have to be done
And another law that says capital improvements program says, capital improvements program shall classify projects according to the urgency and need for realization and shall recommend a time sequence for their implementation. You all get that? Recommend a time sequence. That's why when we got the state capital improvements, they had the years they were gonna do it, what they were gonna do that year, and how much they were gonna spend. We're not getting there. That's lacking in this plan. This is a kind of a plan, but it's not a real good plan. And we can't go back to our constituents and tell them, well, we got kind of a plan, but not a real one. And the gentleman from Milton that was here was concerned about his tax bill. From what I've got, I'm amortizing or just rounding it off. It's about 10 cents on every dollar that you pay in property taxes goes to the county. So that may not be a lot of money to some, but it's a lot of money to others. And myself on a fixed income, it adds up. That's a lot of groceries. That's a lot of fuel oil. And that's a lot of electric bills that I can pay, that I can't when I do that. So these are some of the things that I have to consider, and I won't support a contingency under any circumstances. We didn't have one last time, but we gotta get away without having one. You're talking adding 1.6 million to this contingent, to the capital improvements plan, just in the contingency. That's a big no for me. Do I want to support a capital improvements plan? Yes, I do. Would I like to see a real capital improvements plan? Absolutely. I haven't seen it yet. We've kind of seen it. And I don't think any of you can really tell me, if you looked at everything, okay, you prioritized it. That's not our job. Our job is to look what's been presented to us by priorities, for money spent per year. So we can tell our constituents that we're doing our job to represent them and watch the purse strings, which the county delegation is supposed to do. Now, I was brought up earlier about international codes. Oh, we can't do anything about it. Well, there's members on this side of the table that warned the legislature that if you passed international building codes, this is exactly what was going to happen. You were warned. You passed it anyway. You passed it anyway, and that was 4 years ago. So all these things, for everything, there's cause and effect for everything, folks. And we have cause and effect here. Now, other things that have to be done, yeah. What I don't like people telling me that the overseeing is doing a great job, and there's a bid for $1 million for a project very close to us. Now it's over 2 million. Now there's another million coming forward. And there's state statute that says the commissioners can't spend more than 25,000 without coming before the delegation. That's in 2 laws in the state. And I can cite them if you want me to, but most of you know. So now they spent 2 million, and now they're looking to spend another $1 million. Well, is the executive committee, have we been apprised of that yet? Show of hands? I don't see it either. That's the kind of stuff that we need accountability for. We're not getting it here. And I'm sorry, I like all the people that work in the county. I think they're good workers. But we need accountability. The only way we're gonna get that is have an actual plan. Well, would I go forward and support a capital expenditure tonight or approving a bond? I would for some. I'm not sure how much, but I darn well wanna have accountability so we can tell our constituents what's being spent, how it's being spent, and they're doing the best job they can, and I'm not convinced that the people there in charge now are fighting hard for us to get the best deal. That's a good example of one upstairs. Now, there's another thing that I'm not too happy about too, is we're talking how it's good, it's great, that our bond ratio is down, our debt ratio. Okay, we approved some money tonight. Still down pretty good. I'm a trust but verify guy. At our committee meeting, I asked the finance officer, I said, if we bond, are there penalties for early payment? Can you renegotiate the contract? And she said, yes, we can. We put that in the bond. And I said, well, I'm a trust but verify. Send me a bond contract where that happened. And you know what? I got it that night. I got it that night. So that convinced me that there's people here, a lot of them doing a good job and they're watching out for us. But the question I've got, we're at a pretty low bond rating. What if I want a new nursing home? Next year we come back to bond 150 million. Where does that put our debt ratio? That matters because it's gonna happen. So we're in a great position now to do some things. Do we need to do some things? Absolutely. Do we need to take a smokestack down that's been there for what, 100 years? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if a few more years wouldn't hurt. I don't know. Do we need to do some of the projects we got? I see a lot of things around here that could be done with a little more oomph and maintenance and doing things. And I think our maintenance guy is, man, he's trying hard. He's got military background. He's disciplined. Doug is trying very hard to do what he's doing. But some things are slipping by. They're getting overlooked. Do we need to help him with money if he needs it? Yes, absolutely. But how much do they need and how much is a want? And we have to consider the taxpayers, the people we represent. I think this county does a great job with the building. I think there's things that have happened in the last year that could have been partially, three-quarterly avoided. But they weren't until we had $150,000 damage here and there. The sewer system that's failing at the nursing home, fix it. Fix it and fix it right. Fix it so you're not there every day, every week unplugging it because you cheated and put a narrow pipe to it. And that's the things we ought to have presented to us. These are how we have to fix it. We have to fix it right. We have to fix it now. No, we have to fix everything now, but we want to bond for 6 years to fix everything now. That's what I think we're not doing. We don't have a plan. Anybody that says we do, I'm sorry, but I respectfully disagree because I've seen capital improvement plans. I've seen at a state level, which is certainly a lot bigger plan than what we've got facing us tonight. It took us weeks to go through it. We're finding out at 8:15. Oh, can you prioritize what we gotta spend? 8:15. Representative Kaczynski can agree with me. We spent weeks on that capital improvements plan. And we did it twice, because we were the last 4 years, I was on public works. And I get it when you do it, some things change a little, that's fine, it happens. I also get what the executive council and the governor does. They send something, they get the departments come, we want this amount of money, okay, we'll give you money. And then they try to come back and they say, well, you know, we put it out to bid and you gave us 2 million, it came back at 4 million. Well, oftentimes they'll say, well, you better come up with another plan because we're not gonna give you 4 million, it's too much money. And that can happen, folks, and I think if you think a little, the General Sullivan Bridge is probably one of those examples. Where there was money allocated for it and the bid came in way high and there the bridge sounds. So we have a job to do, ladies and gentlemen. We have a job to watch the money. We have a job to prioritize the money that we're gonna allow. And then we have a job to make sure that it gets spent the way it's supposed to be spent. We gave a blank check for $6.2 million a year ago. How'd that work out? How'd that work out? So I am in support of giving some money. I want to see a real plan. And I definitely will not support any contingency. We can, as the good representative from Durham said, we can always come back and get more money and bond more. But then we can tell our constituents, this is what we're wanting, this is why. Because there's a lot of people out there that are they're living in their cars. People are living in their cars. And I think some of us are setting better, because I bought my house for $45,000. Who else in the room could say that besides maybe Peter and a couple others, senior citizens like me? But you know what, I'm not gonna sell because where am I gonna get? And what's it gonna cost me to go there? But that's what we're facing, that's a reality of what we're dealing with here, folks. It's a real world out there for some of us, and most of us. But we need to do due diligence and get a real plan, so we can keep accountability at county level. Now, earlier tonight, you all saw it, when the vote came up for the budget, what happened? I made the motion, it was seconded and passed unanimously to agree to what they presented us for the third quarter budget. There is a terrible problems at the county that way, but there's a real problem with process and accountability in some areas. And this just happens to be one of them.
Well, I think we can go around and around and around and, not quarterback it anymore. I think we have, an agenda here, which gives us an opportunity to see, because I think that there is a disagreement between the friends from the GOP and the Democrats with regard to whether this is a plan, a viable plan, careful plan that spends reasonable amounts of money in a reasonable way. And those of you who think it needs to be way more specific, way more prioritized and so forth and so on. And there's a way of determining where we're gonna go. And that's what we vote on the proposal that we have before us. If it goes down.
Chairman,
Have something, yes,
we want a caucus.
okay. How much time do you need? Short for me is 10 seconds. Some specificity here. What do you want?
10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
So.
That was. Not so bad.
So here's my plan. We are going to go to item 17, a motion to approve supplemental appropriation of $16,421,951 for proposed 2024-2029 capital improvement plan, which requires a majority vote. Okay? Okay. So clerk will call the roll. Oh, well, we need a motion. So moved. Second by Representative Speck. Okay. So, you ready? Okay. Call the roll.
Anchorberg,
No.
Bailey,
No.
Fay,
Yes.
Bixby,
Yes.
Burnham,
No.
Conlon,
Yes.
Connor,
No.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Granger,
No.
Grassy,
Yes.
Harrington,
No.
Morgan,
No.
Oregon,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kaczynski,
No.
Lamontaine,
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Newton,
No.
Fair,
Yes.
Finney,
No.
Petrie,
No.
Potenza,
No.
Selig,
Yes.
Southworth,
Yes.
Turcott,
Yeah, I hear you. Turcott votes no, and I'd ask that the secretary note in the minutes my objection to any votes being taken remotely.
I'll second that.
Your consistency is noted, Representative Turcott, and your objection will be in the minutes.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually not a funny laughing matter. It is consistency. Thank you.
I didn't laugh.
I did.
Wall,
Yes.
and Schmidt.
Yes.
Let's go.
13.
What's your count?
15 to 13.
13 A? Yeah, okay, that's, we have 15.
We have 16 members on this. 16 to 13. 16 to 13.
I think it's 16 to 13.
I'll take that. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so the motion passes 16 to 13. Any other business which may legally come before the delegation?
No. You guys.
Number 18. 18.
Yep.
Okay, want to do that? Okay. Call the roll.
I'll move that we issue, 60, that we approve the issuance of $16,421,951 in bonds to fund the proposed 24-29 capital improvements plan.
Second by,
And it's open to an amendment, if there is an amendment to be made.
okay, call the roll.
Vanderberg,
Hayden,
Vanderberg,
No.
Bailey,
No.
Bay,
Yes.
Bixby,
Yes.
Burnham. No. Conlon,
Yep.
Connor,
Oh.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Granger,
No.
Grassy,
Yes.
Harrington,
No.
Morgan,
No.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kaczynski,
No.
Lamontaine. Yes. The clerk votes yes. Newton,
No.
Pear,
Yes.
Finney,
No.
Petrie,
No.
Potenza,
No.
Sally. Sally,
Yes. Sorry. Trying to do.
Southworth,
Yes.
Turcott,
No.
Wall,
Yes.
and Schmidt.
yes. Okay, so that failed failed, you have to say that, we'll do through. Okay, now, is there anything else? Okay, so, one other item, which may legally come before the delegation, and that is, as I announced at the executive, as I announced at the executive committee meeting, is a representative, Cecilia Rich has resigned because of her health deteriorating, to the point where she can no longer serve. And she's on the executive committee, but the members of the executive committee must be elected by the delegation. So, we have a motion from Representative Southworth. State your motion.
I nominate Alan Howard.
Helen Howland, Representative Howland has been nominated for a second. A second by Representative, Howland. Getting late, Representative Howland. I'm stuck on punches there, I knew that was well. Okay, so, is there any discussion? I think we need a roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, well, congratulations, Representative Howland, you're always great thing representing on the environment. Wait for the business to come to page.
Chair.
That's why I asked him when he was done.
I did, I just want to say that,
Oh, yeah, you need to be recorded.
I didn't think it's a good report. I'd like to make a motion to recess the meeting for 2 weeks from today. Unless you don't.
That's, can we make that, we have some scheduling issues because we have to give sufficient notice and have to go in the papers.
So do it for 3 weeks.
Can we just, Janet, how long does it take you to get it in the paper?
If I were to get it there in and approved by tomorrow, I can have it in 2 days.
It's a Tuesday, so 3 weeks from today. That would be fine.
What was the second thing? What was that say?
Sorry. It'll be another week, or 25th. 25th of September. Yeah.
Which you adjourn. You adjourn to meet again. It's not technically a recess. The correct motion is I move to fix the time to adjourn to, and then you name the date.
Well, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
That's all right with you, what we want to see, we want to see.
No, I just think there's some progress we can make.
We want to see a plan
Okay,
without contingency.
well, go ahead, Jim.
I've heard loud and clear what my friends on the opposite side of the aisle want to see. They want to see a multi-year capital improvement program by year. And a priority of the expenditures. I understand that. The county commissioners will meet next week with the department heads and we will put that together. We probably could have done it tonight in about 5 minutes in the back room, but I didn't think that was appropriate. There's a lot of things that we need to discuss here about some of the things that we have hanging back. If I may make one more comment, Mr. Chairman. The state statutes regarding CIPs were developed in the 1980s. I co-authored the first capital improvements program for the city of Dover. The reason why capital improvements programs were put together by municipalities was because of zoning ordinances. That's the foundation of it. Prior to that, we used to negotiate with developers with infrastructure improvements that the municipality needed. There's Supreme Court rulings on this. But the counties are not bound by that statute. We do not have planning. We don't do zoning. We don't do those types of things, okay? The reason why municipalities budgets, and I told this to Senator Gray early, as a matter of fact, Senator Gray, you owe me an apology.
I already gave you.
You already gave it to me, okay. The issue here is very, very simple. Capital improvements programs for municipalities are done as a result of zoning. Because people had property rights, and as they came forward with projects, planning boards would negotiate with them for improvements in their town. And it was found unconstitutional. As a result of that, they said, in order for a town to have zoning and have planning, for it to be constitutional, you had to have a capital improvements program. The county does not do zoning. We don't do planning in the same sense as the municipality. Okay, we don't do that. The statute is very clear on how capital improvements are made at the county level. They are much different than municipality. So I just wanted to say that for the record. Hopefully I'll get 14 minutes of equal time to flip cup on with this political speech. And I'm looking forward to working with you for the next few weeks on this, because this is an important business for the public. And on top of all that, with only 0.75% of total debt to this county, I want you all to know that we have left millions and millions and millions of dollars on the table for the local municipalities of this county as a result of the way we've operated here for many, many years. You've had a 33% increase in the total value of this county in the last 3 years. A 33% increase in its total value. Yet the county commissioners and the administration brought the budget in for the last 3 years with less than 11%. I want you to think about that. All that extra money that was left under the tax caps was used by the municipalities.
It's not under the Milton tax cap.
No, that's true, and I will, the Milton tax cap is 2%. There is no way, as I told Senator Gray earlier, there is no way that this operation, under any circumstance, at present, can operate with a 2% increase in this county budget. It is impossible, because of the statutes that require us to do certain services that we're required to pay for. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, thank you. You'll have your plan.
Without objection, we are adjourned.
Take a vote on my motion.
So, in my
Don't worry about the motion. I'll call you back.
state website,